I do want to welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're joining us from. And thank you for joining us for our Silicon Valley Forum Fireside Chat with Medlivery. We're going to focus today's conversation on providing telehealth solutions in Botswana. And we've got, and I'm going to forgive me for mispronunciation, but Raphael Mathuba. Did I get that, Raphael?
Yeah. Close.
Okay.
Close.
So very good. And thank you. Silicon Valley Forum, my name is Aaron Rose. I am the co-founder and chairman of the board of a California-based 501c3 nonprofit organization. And our focus is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, and leadership in Silicon Valley and throughout the world. We achieve our mission through events, programs, and conferences, and Silicon Valley Forum functions as a center of knowledge and connections, covering everything from the latest tech trends to the startup and investment ecosystem. And Silicon Valley Forum's activities are aimed to educate, train, inspire, and connect technologists, entrepreneurs, corporates, and investors. We've got a number of events coming up. I also serve as the chair of the StarTides Advisory Board, and we do have a fireside chat under the StarTides banner coming up on Tuesday, October 22nd, Accelerating Your Digital Health Transformation. And that's with Dr. Milton Chen. He runs a company called VC Health based in Silicon Valley. It's a small publicly traded company, and so we'll be doing that event. Silicon Valley Forum will be in Hawaii on November 1st. And then we have an in-person event on December 18th in Sunnyvale, California. It will be Silicon Valley Forum's annual State of the Tech Sector Luncheon. And where, as we wrap up the year, we'll be focusing on the latest trends to look for in 2025 and beyond. My colleague, Patricia Verdejo, and I are registered for CES in Las Vegas, and which is now the world's largest technology conference. But we'll be doing a pre-CES event in early January, and then in April of 2025 will be the 18th annual StarTides Capabilities Demonstration in Arlington, Virginia. And following those 3 days, on April 16th and 17th, we do the Tides follow-on event at the Pentagon Center Courtyard in Arlington, Virginia. The lawyers require us to have this disclaimer, but the Silicon Valley Forum, SVF, does not endorse or sponsor any commercial product, service, or activity. SVF's production of this event does not constitute endorsement by SVF or its representatives. All SVF programs and services are extended to the public on a non-discriminatory basis. And we are a 501c3 charitable organization domiciled in the state of California. And so we do thank you for your support. All right, we are done with our kind of commercial, and we can go ahead and engage in conversation. So we've got Raphael here, and we're going to have a very direct and candid conversation on various things. But Raphael, before we get into who you are and what your company is doing and all that great stuff, candidly, most Americans are incredibly ignorant to the African market. The news, even in 2024, most of the news we receive is negative news about Africa. Ebola, Mpox, famine, war, government corruption. It's not been good news. And despite the plethora of the internet and other resources, it is still not good news. So tell us more about Botswana, where it's located geographically, and what is the landscape there in Botswana and Southern Africa?
Thank you, Aaron. So basically, Botswana is first of all, maybe let me greet everyone here. I'm not sure if I'm audible, and maybe you can confirm that.
I
Hello?
hear you fine. Yes.
Yes. So basically, Aaron, Botswana is a landlocked country, probably with about 2.7 million. We're approaching 2.7 million population. And in terms of what the background of Botswana and SADC and Africa, basically we are making initiatives so that people are more especially in Africa, they are aware of what exactly Africa is, what it does. I'm pretty sure we are mostly prominent in terms of tourism, mining, and stuff like that. But as citizens of the African nation, we are more than capable to provide solutions like telehealth, as per this conversation. And so basically, the technological and innovative advantages that are there. And we have, I'm not sure if Pitso Mmopiemang has already joined, but we also have a market size that is more than probably 360 billion in terms of telehealth. And it is a market that we aim to capture throughout the whole of Africa. And I believe that, through the Africa Trade, the Free Trade Agreement, which is organized by the African Union, we will be able to achieve this. So Botswana is basically generally a country that has a population of 2.6 billion and 850 general practitioners, 380 specialists, and the doctor-patient ratio, it's a bit low as per the H the WHO recommendation, which is about 3.7 per 10,000. So um, yeah, that is just a little bit of an overview when it comes to this one recommendation.
Very good. Now I'm putting some links in the chat, and this is, I think, mostly for the U.S. audience, but I also is important for people in Botswana. So the United States government, through the Department of Commerce, issues a commercial guide for most countries. And for American investors and American business people, it's a very useful tool that we go into and we refer in understanding the business landscape, the geopolitical landscape, the investment landscape. So I share the link to the Botswana Country Commercial Guide that's updated regularly by the United States Department of Commerce in collaboration with the U.S. Embassy in Botswana. And the other link I'm going to share, you mentioned the Africa Free Trade Agreement.
Yep.
And so let me share that link. And again, that is something that was recently ratified. Here's the link for the Africa Free Trade Agreement. It was recently ratified and has become effective. It is, as most trade agreements, it's going to take many years for the details to kind of come out and for it to become a useful tool. But the aim is for countries within Africa to trade services and products more easily. It may come as a surprise to most people that intra Africa trade is very low. Most African countries have more trade with countries outside of Africa, either with Western Europe, the United States, or China. So this is a framework that really has been going over 40 years, I think since its inception, to create this. And as most free trade agreements, it's going to take time, but there is a framework in place to help stimulate trade. So let's go a little bit back to the beginning. So tell us about yourself, your background. What led you up to the founding of your company. But yeah, tell us more. Where did you grow up, your education, and give us some context.
Yes, thank you, Aaron Rose. So basically, I grew up in a small village. It's not a small village, but it's prominent. It's called Mahalape. Um, and I studied, I was always growing up, I was fascinated with computers, through the encouragement of my uncle. And I studied computing with finance at the University of Botswana. And Medlivery, basically, which I believe is a topic of this discussion. It's basically a telehealth platform that aims to bridge that gap between medical health providers and medical health seekers, basically your doctor and patient. And I am the founder of and CEO of Medlivery. And our mission is to improve the healthcare delivery in Botswana by leveraging the technology that is, ongoing today. You have your AIs, your computer visions and the likes, and so that we can improve the delivery of healthcare in Botswana, and as well as the rest of SADC, and hopefully, by the grace of God, we go through the whole of Africa. And at the end of the day, it's all about the convenience and the accessibility and the access to healthcare, because a lot of people, they're not able to access healthcare, and they're not able to access specialists in a timely manner. And maybe, like I said, a little bit of background. It was during the time of COVID. We were mostly focused in making sure that people remember that time, people were not able to, there was restrictions and travel and stuff like that. So we wanted to make sure that the chronic patients, they're able to get the necessities that they you know and then also even a regular Motswana can be able to access healthcare services without leaving their home, or they can have telehealth or telecommunications online. So
Very good.
basically,
Well,
that is when we started Medlivery, me and Pitso. And yeah, we offer services like online consultations, EMR. For those that are here that don't know what EMR is basically storage of your medical. Is a digital storage for your medical records, and also e-prescriptions, and there's a whole lot more to Medliver that
well,
we
we'll
are
go.
offering. And yeah,
Let me interrupt you here, and we'll go a little bit deeper into
yeah,
Medlivery. But
yeah.
is Pitso? Are you online now?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rose. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Absolutely. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
So So I've shared in the chat the LinkedIn profiles for both of the co-founders of Medlivery. But Pizzo, tell us more about your background and where are you from? Where did you grow up? And kind of how did you get connected to Raphael and the story that led to the founding of Medlivery?
All right. Thank you, sir. Well, me and Raphael, we go way back. We spent about 12 years. We met in high school, where we found out that we had similar interests. We wanted to, push boundaries. We wanted to discover new things. We were always very inquisitive about, numerous things. So we went to school together, went all the way to college or university. He went and ventured off into the realms of computer science. I went the other way. I went to finance. I'm a real I'm a big finance guy. So Medlivery basically, like Raphael has already said, we're essentially a telehealth company, right, that specializes on healthcare innovation and healthcare delivery. So Medlivery initially was an idea that was conceived, right, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. Me and Raphael were just taking a walk, just young boys walking down the streets during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we thought to ourselves, there are a lot of issues, a lot of healthcare issues that, our country is currently facing. And the then traditional healthcare system wasn't able to sort of deal with some of the issues that were in place at the time, overwhelmed facilities, shortage of medical health personnel, and the like. So the pandemic really exposed the gaps in our healthcare system, and this is how Medlivery came about. Yeah, back to you, sir.
Okay, very, very good. So let's go deeper into the problem you're trying to solve. So this is a platform you've built, and this is for doctors in your market to help manage their appointments and also the electronic health records, and it allows the patients as well to manage their electronic health records. And it's for either one of you. Go ahead, Raphael.
Yeah. So basically, Medlivery, like I did mention, it tries to uh, bridge the gap between medical health professionals and the medical seekers. That is your patients. So one of the features that we have there, because we really did not, there's a lot of features that we can delve into that are happening now into the different respective continents. But the foundation is quite important. When we are talking about telehealth or telemedicine, we are talking about ways in which people can have access to healthcare and in a convenient manner, and such that they are, so we one of the features, or some of the features that we have at Medlivery, is online booking of appointments, and then we have the online consultations. We have the e-prescriptions, such that when you are done with the online consultation, you can issue e-prescriptions towards the patient, and then they can go to the laboratory, to the pharmacies, and delivery can be made there. We also have the EMR, that is the electronic records for the patient. So one of the problems that are here in Botswana is that, a lot of people, they carry physical medical records, and sometimes they lose them and stuff like that. And this is you go to a doctor, you are telling them about, they have to rely on your information. 2010 I had diabetes, or I had this, I was diagnosed with this, but they it's unreliable. And this is what we're trying to solve, whereby we have stationary records that can always be accessed at any time and anywhere. I believe Mmopiemang can add more to this.
Yes, thank you for that, Raphael. So I think in a nutshell, the platform, the platform's ultimate objective is to kind of become a one-stop shop, right? Offering services across the entire patient value chain, from booking to consulting to receiving prescriptions virtually. So basically, we would like to think of ourselves as, providing value to two sort of main stakeholders there, or two entities, or two variables. So we have the doctors, and then we have the patients. So the value that we bring to doctors is that we provide them with a comprehensive practice management tool, right? So doctors can easily host their practices online. They can have their secretaries in there managing their appointments. They can manage their billing and track their accounts. They can also have access to patient statistics, they can monitor the number of patients in a week, their demographics, etc. As well as, like Raphael has already mentioned, the access to electronic medical records, right? So that way they can gain visibility into, the patient medical history, including their past consultation, their past prescriptions, their results, their past diagnosis and the like. So, and then for patients, right, the value that we bring for patients, basically, we would like to think that we provide a more efficient healthcare experience for patients. I'd like to believe Raphael already mentioned some of the few features that we have that could add value to to patients, such as the online booking, the virtual consultations, the e-prescriptions. I don't know if you mentioned the online referrals. We also have an online referral feature. We also have patients also have the ability to make payments online. So patients can pay for consultations online, making the payment process more efficient. Yeah, thank you, sir.
So I put in the link because one of you had mentioned SADC. So SADC is the acronym for the Southern Africa Development Community. And then I put in, it's a regional economic community comprising 16 member states of Southern Africa. Now, when Raphael had mentioned in the beginning of describing kind of what, the layout of Botswana is a fairly small populous country. And, one of the concerns about African businesses is that how do you scale? How do you expand your operations? And so you mentioned that SADC is one of your, is your primary focus. Not all these countries within SADC are English speaking. So it comes to a question of what are the challenges? And maybe you can talk either from specifically to your company, but also other companies, the challenges of doing business throughout Southern Africa when you've got countries that speak Portuguese as well as French. Yeah, let's talk about that, as well as some of the rules and regulations that each country may have and some of the challenges.
Yeah, I believe probably maybe 80% of SADC countries, or 70, they are English speaking, and then you have your Mozambique, Angola, Portuguese and stuff like that. So basically how we are trying to roll this out, maybe I'll firstly speak about Botswana. The challenges that we have in Botswana is that, firstly, is the funding. We have been operating Medlivery from, our own investments, and, the progress is a little bit slow, but we're going to get there. And also the other thing is that people are not technically savvy, the side. You have your doctors, you come and tell them that telehealth and stuff like that, and they are a bit confused about what are you talking about, and these are some of the challenges that we're having in accessing the market and making sure that, because once we have, or we can achieve the broader market in Botswana, or even in Zambia, an English speaking country, or even in Zimbabwe, or South Africa, we will be 100% sure that, a lot of people will be more comfortable with enrolling into these platforms. And one of the observations that we have done, or that we have seen, is that, a lot of people, or a lot of doctors, what they are doing is that they conduct a lot of online consultations through WhatsApp or your Zoom and Teams and the likes like that, which they are not basically HIPAA compliant in a sense. There are good ways to communicate, yes, but they are not HIPAA compliant. But so the Africa Free Trade Agreement has allowed, or is giving a sort of basis to say no. Now Medlivery can expand towards even other countries. It might not all have to be in Botswana, but even other countries, because like I did say to you, Botswana is a small population of 2.7 million, and South Africa is about, I think, 50 or 60 million, like that. And we have your Zimbabwe's and your Zambia's, and these countries. I'll tell you one thing, say Rose, that they are pretty much in the works in terms of internet connectivity and the rollout of the broadband, which means that they are laying a platform for applications like Medlivery. They are laying a platform for telemedicine or telehealth to take place, and other services as well, as per the 2063 agenda, as per the African Union. Thank you. Pitso, I don't know if you have anything to add there, sir.
I think the only thing I can add to shed some light as to the Southern African market. So when we're now at a stage when we want to scale or to expand into some of these markets. So regionally, we feel as though there's opportunity for growth when looking at some of the work being done to improve some of the IT infrastructure. Like Raphael has mentioned about the African Free Trade Agreement. So then there's going to be converging legislation. And obviously, we have a youthful population, especially in the SADC region, with average ages ranging to about 27 years and a population of 360 million, right? But that was in 2020, which is projected to almost double in 2030. So this makes a very strong case for the adoption of telehealth solutions in the region. So yeah, over to you, Mr. Rose.
No, this is you mentioned a key statistic, which is approximately 70-80% of the population in Southern Africa is English speaking, and I think that's important. I've recently published 2 blog posts that I'm sharing links to. One is these are 2 reports that recently were published by the GSMA, the UK-based organization that does a lot of research sorry, just trying to do 2 things at once. A lot of research and support for the digitalization of emerging and developing markets. Let's see here, and then I'll do this one. And then, so one was about the digitalization of Zambia, which is a neighbor of Botswana. And I think a lot of this report about Zambia very much applies to Botswana and its neighbors. And then I did most recent was a blog post about a toolkit that the GSMA has put together for mobile device users in Sierra Leone, which is an English-speaking country in West Africa. And in my introductory paragraph, I write about how people mistakenly assume that if a person in these markets have a cell phone, then they have the skills to take advantage of the applications, and they really don't. We call it there's a high level of digital illiteracy that many emerging and developing markets have. So in your comments, you talked about people maybe not being as technical savvy, either in Botswana or in Southern Africa. What, not so much about what you're doing, because that's not really your responsibility, but I guess there's 2 questions here. One is, what does the word intuitive mean? Because even applications and platforms in the United States, the ones that are most intuitive to use are the most successful. So what does intuitive mean to you? And then what efforts are being made either by by the other members of the private sector or government to improve digital literacy and bridge the usage gap. And that usage gap is the people that have cell phones. They own a cell phone, whether it's a feature phone or a smartphone, but they're not using the applications that are designed for that mobile device. So those two questions, and I'll let either one of you to kind of begin that conversation.
Okay. So I'll speak to the latter, and maybe Pitso will touch more on the first question you asked. But in terms of what is being done in Botswana, is that there has been a framework called the e-health strategy, which it's I don't know how to put it, but it's a strategy that sort of speaks to how the can it's mostly focused on the EMR, the electronics management record system. You get me? So, but it does not touch on the issues of telemedicine. It's more of informatics. It does not touch on the issues of telemedicine, of how, as a patient, can I be able to, consult with a doctor? How can I make sure that I do not go out there and, queue for hours waiting for a doctor, or I spend, money calling. So that is what Medlivery is trying to achieve. That is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make convenience, and we're trying to make sure that people have access to all these healthcare services at ease. There are some things that, yes, you physically will need to go, and then the other initiatives that we have seen is by the University of Pennsylvania has collaborated with the Botswana Ministry of Health, and also I think the USAID or the US Embassy. So those are some of the things such that you get your SMSs and stuff like that. And as you can see, those are things that, as we are striving towards the fourth industrial revolution, we are way behind. We have a lot of catching up to do, and that is, as Medlivery, what we are trying to sort of tackle. We are trying to make sure that we advance. So we're trying to make sure that we get to the point whereby we're collaborating with universities like Stanford. They have a medical imaging library there, whereby they're using computer vision to sort of assist in real time diagnosis of those medical imagings. I think it's called ImageNet or something like that. So yeah, Mmopiemang, you can chip in.
Yeah, thank you, Raphael. So what I would say on the adoption, right? Adoption of technology, the use of some of these apps in the country. I feel as though there are initiatives currently in place here in Botswana to sort of reduce the illiteracy that you guys were talking about. We have the Botswana Innovation Hub, which is an organization which promotes innovation in the country. So it also does seminars and training programs to try and bridge that gap, right? And also we have, like Raphael mentioned, we have collaborations with international agencies, international organizations. Quite recently, there was a collaboration between the US Embassy to Botswana, Rutgers University, and the Ministry of Health, where the US Embassy to Botswana donated, or they gave grants to the country to address some of the telehealth issues, right? So we feel as though, in overall, together with the collaborations, there are efforts being made to sort of like bridge that gap or that illiteracy gap between users, digital mobile device users, and as well as, yeah, thank you, sir.
Let's go more into the investment climate. I had the privilege of being an investor of MTN back in the mid-90s. MTN is a mobile network operator based in South Africa. And when MTN, I made my investment when MTN was a privately held company. And then MTN listed its shares on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, I think in 2002. South Africa had been going through a massive geopolitical transformation in the previous 7+ years, with the apartheid officially ending as official policy. And of course, the late Nelson Mandela becoming president, and the rise of the political party, the African National Congress, the ANC. And when MTN listed its shares to the public, and a lot of the early investors were able to get their money back as an investment. And there was a lot of hope that Africa was then changing, because a lot of the startup money, a lot of the money that investors give in the United States to startups is the result of other investments that have been realized through the stock markets in the United States, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. And these markets have been around for over 200 years. So there was a lot of hope that, similar to Asia has had a very robust stock markets, either in Tokyo, South Korea, China, Sydney, Australia, that Africa is going to catch up. But my own opinion is that since 2002, there's not been a lot of progress. It's been 22 years now. Not a lot of progress in the development of stock exchanges in Africa. And many viewers here today would be surprised to know there are several stock exchanges throughout the African continent, including Botswana. Botswana has its own stock exchange. You've got the main one in South Africa, the Johannesburg, but there's one in Uganda, there's one in Nairobi, Kenya, there's another one in Nigeria, and there's a few other smaller ones. So it's a question to the two of you. You're investors 1 and 2. You're trying to raise capital. How do you address the issue to investors? How do investors get their money back? Now, you can either talk about Medlivery itself, or you can talk about other startups and in general, but how do you convince investors, whether they're domestic there in Botswana, or investors in South Africa, or investors in the United States, and how they get their money back when they invest in a startup? Actually, Pitso, I'm going to have you go first on this one, please.
Okay. So investors, we're looking to scale our business, and obviously we do need funding from all sorts of investors. But then like you're saying, they're going to be interested in how they can get their money back. Also looking at the size of Medlivery, that it's relatively a small company operating in a very small market, right? But what I would say is that we have a lot of things working for us, right? We're a company that essentially has the capability or the capacity to expand beyond Botswana. Looking at some of the economic environment, some of the agreements that we've been discussing, such as the free trade agreement. So there is opportunity to sort of scale from Botswana and into the SADC region, and also into other blocks like ECOWAS and the like. So I would say there's great opportunity. There's great opportunity. But more than that, just so that just so that to make it clear, the investors can get their money back through several ways, right? So we envision a sort of profit sharing agreement, right, with investors where they can kind of be involved with the process of building Medlivery. So we can have like some form of percentage, an agreement where some form of percentage from our profits or from our growth goes to investors so that they can also they can recover their funds over time. Apart from that, we feel as though there's a lot of opportunity for Medlivery in the services that they offer, and that we can also venture into other things. I don't know if Raphael mentioned that we are currently working on two features. We have a pharmacy feature, and then we also have a lab feature. So that together with the value proposition that we're already offering sort of enhances some of the things that we can do, some of the growth that we can realize as well. Above that, we're hoping also for collaborations with local insurance companies, research institutions, and also the government. So I feel as though we make a strong case as to the growth potential there.
Raphael, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think Pitso pretty much covered everything. But in a nutshell, in terms of the SADC market and the penetration towards it, there's a whole lot of potential that can be done. And more especially, like I did say, Aaron, we want to make sure that the fundamentals are covered. You cannot solve a problem without going to the root cause. And we cannot jump. We have the ability to go and go into the spaces of making sure we're into the diabetes or malaria researches in terms of the artificial intelligence space and stuff like that, the computer visions and stuff like that. But we want to make sure that everything is done such that this foundation is solid and such that patients, they have the basic necessities that enable them to access all of this. And then now we can go on to the spaces of where doctors they need assistance in diagnosis in terms of integrating with the Stanford Library of Imaging and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, very good responses. I do want to be mindful. It's we've got 15 minutes left. Of course, if anyone has any questions, either type the message in. I know that my good friend John Francis, I think, is joining us. John is based in Cape May, New Jersey, who's doing some great work in Africa. John, if you're there, would love to get you involved in the conversation. But let me know. Actually, see if I can. John, I think you should be able to. I think you should be able to use your mic. You want to unmute yourself, John, I think. John, are you able to unmute yourself? Wait for John's response here. Well, let me go to another question. The competitive landscape. What other companies are doing something similar as Medlivery? And if they are, it's interesting. In the United States, when a company says they have no competition, there's a worry then the market isn't ready for that company. And so there's that concern. On the other side, when they say, we have competition and lots of competition, while that validates that there's a market opportunity, then it obviously comes down to a competitive advantage. But do give us a kind of a snapshot of the competitive landscape for your company.
Yeah, I think I'll let Mmopiemang Pitso handle this. But maybe handing over to him, I'll just let you know that, like I said, the technical, we have a long way to go. And though some people are aware of telehealth, telemedicine, the uptake and is a bit slow, But we have seen that countries like South Africa, our neighboring countries, the SADC region, they are moving at a rapid pace. It's just a matter of us making sure that, we conduct the workshops and we conduct the awarenesses, so that people are aware of what telehealth is. Because, it's a new concept that, you can't just throw something to somebody who doesn't know or who is not within that space. So over to you, Mmopiemang.
Thank you, Raphael. So the telehealth market in Botswana. I would say currently we have a number of telehealth initiatives in Botswana. So the space is quite broad, but on the most part, it's characterized by collaborations between institutions. I think Raphael did mention there's a partnership called the Botswana UPenn Partnership, which is essentially a partnership between the University of Botswana, the Ministry of Health, and the University of Pennsylvania, right, on research and capacity building. So it's telehealth projects involve the use of mobile phones to relay clinical information to specialists who then recommend treatment plans. But on the most part, telehealth can then be broken down into digital fitness and well-being, which involves like the integration with wearable devices such as your smartwatches, your ECG monitors, your fitness trackers, and the like, as well as virtual health care delivered through mediums such as WhatsApp, Skype, SMSs, and the like. So the problem with the current telehealth developments in Botswana is that the solutions are fragmented, right? And there's no cohesion or interoperability between the systems in place. I think Raphael can provide more clarity on that. In relation to the HIPAA compliance, Raphael.
Oh, hi, Aaron. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, John. And yeah, let me interrupt the conversation with Raphael. John, welcome and good evening. I see you are in Cape Town, South Africa at the moment. So very good. John, you want to give a little bit of a introduction of yourself, and love to have kind of get your take. Obviously, we've got about 9 minutes here, but give a real snapshot of what you're doing and get your thoughts about today's conversation.
Well, it's a very interesting conversation for me. I am in Cape Town right now. I'm just returning back to the United States, but my mission is to walk from Cape Town to Cairo, and so far I've walked from Cape Town to a place in South Africa called Beaufort West, and then my next visit I'll be walking to Kimberley, South Africa, and then to Botswana, and I'm working with a gentleman in the United States, Milton Chen, who is the CEO of VC, which is the platform that NASA uses for the International Space Station. And on my walk, he's offered me a VC platform to use for telemedicine in whatever country I'm in. And since my next country is going to be Botswana, I think this is a very interesting conversation that you guys are having, and I hope that we can connect outside this forum and maybe work together on some of the issues that you're trying to develop.
Wonderful, John. I shared your LinkedIn profile in the chat, and I'm more than happy to send an email to Pitso and Raphael and connecting you, John, to them. So this is this exciting. The irony is, I don't know if you joined us a little bit late, John, but the next Fireside Chat, which will be under the Star Tides banner, is actually with Milton Chen next Tuesday. So
That's great.
So we'll be talking. I'll be having this conversation with Milton. On Tuesday. It'll be Tuesday night, Southern Africa time. But very good. We've got a few more minutes here, and again, if anyone, I think I disabled or allowed everyone to have access to their microphones and cameras. But feel free to ask a question here. But as we go into our concluding remarks for the Medlivery co-founders, what are some of the challenges you're having? Raising capital, obviously, you mentioned that. And there's Dr. Francis. And so what are some of the challenges that you're having? Raising capital, scaling. I know I've talked with both founders in a private conversation, the challenges of scaling the business, which is scaling is multi-dimensional. But yeah, let's leave it there. What are some of the challenges you have, and what are some of the goals you have as we exit 2024 and enter 2025 in a couple of months? Raphael, I'm going to turn it over to you first, please.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. So from our side, I think the challenges, we pretty much mentioned them, but one of the things that we are very hopeful for, which is our mission and our vision, to make sure that we scale. The question I did ask you, through SADC, we are very much eager. Like Pitso mentioned, we are developing a bunch of features in our platform. And one of the challenges, apart from doctors and digital literacy, is that even the public, within itself, the SADC market, the Botswana market, they are not sort of tech savvy in that way. They do not understand that, the concept of telehealth, that you can be able to see a doctor, you can be able to pay and be able to see a doctor within an instant, or a specialist. Because, at the end of the day, one of the major causes of delayed diagnosis is making sure that, you see a specialist in a timely manner. And into 2025, I believe by then, we aim to make sure that those features are done and the product will be rolled out in a timely manner, such that going into the 2025, people are aware of what telemedicine is, what it does, and what it can, the impact it can have into Botswana, the impact it can have into the SADC region. And like I did say, one of the things that are very paramount to us that we are always keeping track of is the internet rollout, and the national broadband rollout that is happening in Botswana, that is happening in Zambia, as per the African Union 2063 agenda. And these are the things that enable telecommunication, that enable telehealth to happen. So yeah, maybe Mmopiemang, he can comment on this as well.
Thank you. So I think our business model, right? We have a B2B to C model. So basically, we are reliant on practitioners, right? So therefore, this creates a sort of like a bottleneck for scalability. So if, for example, practitioners fail to bring patients into the platform, then the growth for the platform stalls, right? Over and above that, we have issues with trust. People don't really trust having the personal sensitive information on a platform where they don't necessarily understand how some of the data is being handled. Some people, they have illnesses that they don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing some of this information. So they're also not comfortable with having some of this information in a particular platform. So I think those are some of the issues that we have, in that there's sort of like a trust element. People don't really understand how they're protected, how exposed they are in terms of their personal information. Yeah.
Very good. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. I think it's certainly achieved our goals of, one, letting the audience outside of Botswana and Southern Africa really understand more of the landscape and opportunities in Southern Africa. And I think it also allows better understanding of the digital health market. There's a vast ramp up of digitalization throughout the African continent, and I do think there's some great business opportunities. And it's great to have the two of you and your colleagues really put your resources together to provide a solution for doctors and patients in Botswana, and with the goal of really extending those solutions and deploying those solutions in Southern Africa. So I do want to thank you for your time. I want to thank everyone that's been part of this conversation. This has been recorded. It will be up on YouTube, and I'll be sending the link out. And again, the next Fireside Chat is actually next Tuesday. Why your digital health transformation will be slow and likely hacked by Dr. Milton Chen. And John Francis has mentioned he's working with Dr. Chen. I've known, I think it probably almost as long as Dr. Francis have known Milton for quite some time, with our common connection of star tides. So it'll be a very enlightening conversation, really talking about some of the security issues involved, which has certainly a relevance to even Medlivery. I will add this, kind of the teaser going in. The hacking problem in the United States, health information has now become one of the most valuable information on the black market, the information black market in the world, and even more valuable than Social Security numbers and some other financial information. So we'll have that conversation. Thank you all, and wish everyone a great day. Goodbye.
All right. Cheers.
Maybe